you're gonna get some work done and you're wondering if you need a permit. It depends, but let's talk about why you should care. Hi, I'm Jim Singletary with RoofSmart. We do, I don't know, maybe 1,000 roofs every year in the Seattle market. And the rules are different for when you need a permit, when you don't need a permit. It varies based on jurisdiction and scope. So let's dive in and we'll talk about it. So the permit notwithstanding, all work has to be done to meet current code. The reason that all exists, and the reason the permit system exists fundamentally, is to ensure the safety of the buildings, right? Whether it's commercial, residential, you're not supposed to make the building less safe. So you're supposed to improve the building when you work on it, at least in the corner of it that you work on. You're not supposed to make it worse. You're supposed to get it closer in compliance to code, and the work that you do should meet the current standards. So with that in mind, let's talk details. The International Code Council makes building code, right? And as the name implies, it's for the whole world. But it is up to local districts or jurisdictions to adopt that as their version of the building code. In the state of Washington, it's adopted at the state level. So it's pushed down to every county and every city. Then also the cities adopt it and they can make amendments. By state law, they can only make amendments that make the code more restrictive. They insist that the minimum standard is higher, right? So that's what a city can do, is they can make the International Code Council stuff or the Washington Administrative Code Council, they can make it more strict, but never less. All these things have to meet code, whatever you do. Let's say it's roofing. Is it going to be inspected, and do you need a permit? That's a jurisdictional question. The city of Seattle, for example, if you're just replacing a roof like for like, there's no permit, which I love because it's a lot less paperwork. But there's a lot of really shoddy work that happens in Seattle because ain't nobody checking anything. You go to a different place like Tacoma. They will require a permit only if you're changing plywood. It sort of changes. So we've got a whole article and a table on our website that kind of lists out each one of these things. So we'll link that so you can check it out. So that was jurisdiction. So let's talk about scope. So what does that mean? Well, I kind of referred to that before, where in Tacoma, you have to get a permit if you're doing plywood. In the city of Renton, it's if you're going to be replacing a substantial amount of plywood. And what does that mean? Well, they get to pick. I think what it means is that if you're replacing, I think, more than a sheet of plywood, you're supposed to pull a permit. Sometimes that's not known, right, until you take the roof off. So it's a surprise, and you can't just sit there and wait. You have to kind of cover it up, and so how we handle that is we take pictures. Prove that everything was put in the right place, the nailing pattern is correct. Maybe you're doing more than just the roof, right? Maybe there's some framing that needs to be done. Maybe there's some truss repair. There could be some engineering required. If you have anything about the structure, usually they want a permit for that, right? Because you're modifying the structure, especially if you're literally modifying the structure. You're cutting stuff out, you're changing stuff. They want to make sure that you're going to make it safe. That's what the permit is for. And so they want to come out and inspect and make sure that everything is the way that it's supposed to be and up to snuff. So it's good. It does add a lot of extra time to the process, but it is what it is. Other element of scope. You have residential, commercial, different zoning, different requirements. You have different fire codes. You actually have different building codes for residential versus commercial buildings. You have the International Residential Code, which, as the name implies, is what they use for residences. And so that's going to be fundamentally single-family units, but it's limited to like a fourplex and smaller. Everything else falls under the International Building Code, so general building envelope stuff. And in almost every case, there's a lot more requirements, a lot more restrictions, and what that means is it's a lot more expensive to do that kind of work because it's all at a higher level. That's kind of the difference that you get. So every jurisdiction expects you to do it to code, but not every jurisdiction requires you to get a permit. The only way you can really find out is to call your local jurisdiction and ask them, if you have enough knowledge of the scope of work to be able to have an intelligent conversation with them. Better than that is to just hire a good contractor like RoofSmart, where we just take care of the whole process for you. Make sure to check the description down below for the link to the article I mentioned about, the table with building codes and which jurisdiction requires what and what the permit is. We have another article there that's basically, what happens if I didn't pull a permit? How do I fix that? What happens if I get caught? Also good to know. Please check those out for your own benefit. That way you can nail it.